Mindseize is another game that's been billed as another alternative in the Metroidvania genre. And with the game following release, we have a title that unfortunately could not meet, I think, the lofty goals there. And this comes down to general issues of playability and design. But the story follows our main character here, who, aptly as the title, his daughter's mind has been taken by what appears to be an ascended race of cyborgs. So, our hero's only option is to chase them around the galaxy, doing all the good old Metroidvania-ing that we've come to expect, fighting enemies, gathering power-ups, growing in strength, and of course fighting bosses. And at the basic level, Mindseize plays to some point pretty well. As you go through the game, you'll unlock both passive and active upgrades. The passive perks fall into your usual line of giving you more damage, allowing you to also get iframes on dodge, and you'll also get active ones in the form of course, the double jump. You will be able to do a dash in the air, and you'll unlock new weapons. And to the game's credit, the level designs do evolve to make use of your new movement tech. Now, each one of the game's 4 planets has a variety of objectives, challenges, and secrets to find. And as with any good Metroidvania, you're going to, if you want to get 100%, you are going to have to return and look for additional areas that you couldn't access previously. Now, combat is very fast-paced, and you'll have to make use of sword, your ranged weapon, as well as energy-fueled special attacks that each weapon has. There's also passive upgrades that you can buy at the shop of the game, and the shop will get new abilities as you get further in. But for the most part, this is a Metroidvania in terms of progress built on those upgrades, with the game required ones usually locked behind a boss or a specific challenge. Each planet, of course, has an end boss that beating them will unlock the next planet in line. Now, if you're expecting more of the non-linear aspects that we see in games such as Bloodstain or Hollow Knight, Mindseize does not really go that far. The areas are open, but it's more of kind of like a false openness, with many of them having shortcuts or multiple paths that will take you to the same goal, but there is no getting around that. With that said, the game definitely seems to be maybe having the potential for speedrunners in terms of making use of the movement tech and trying to get through areas as quickly and as effortlessly as possible. Now, as you play through, one thing to keep in mind, this can be very challenging, is that you do not have iframes by default. You'll have to unlock a special move that will then give you iframes by consuming energy for using a specific power. And this game, while it may not look it in the footage that you're going to see in this video, it does get quite difficult. Enemies are fast, they are really great at tracking you, and bosses are no slouches when it comes to their patterns and damage output. And as you get further into the game, the platforming definitely excels or it gets more challenging along those lines. And like I said, from a basically on paper standpoint, Mindseize is pretty good. However, there are definitely issues when it comes to overall playability and the structure of the game that kind of hint at this being maybe the first time Metroidvania design by these developers. And we're going to be spending the bulk of our video talking about that, but first, a quick shout out to our current Game Wisdom supporters and sponsors. And now for a quick shout out to our current Game Wisdom supporters and sponsors. Going forward, all Patreon supporters will get early access to our videos. And if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, linked down below. If you're looking for more wisdom about game design, be sure to check out my latest offering of books, 20 Essential Games to Study, aimed for first-time developers and students looking for some inspiration for their upcoming games, and Game Design Deep Dive Platformers if you're interested in anything regarding 2D and 3D platforming design. They're both available in print, digital, and wherever books are being sold. Mindseize's problems are not immediately apparent, but the more we play through this game on stream as well as what I did off stream, we ran into some very sizable issues in terms of its design and overall structure. First, there are a lot of bugs in this game. People report issues with the game not responding to an Xbox controller. My character actually literally walked off screen and just disappeared at one point, and these are issues we were discovering on day one of the game, and they were pretty sizable. At this moment, I don't know if they have been corrected, but the playability issues I know have not, and Mindseize has a lot of them. The first is, let's talk about level design. The game falls into that trap of pretty much nonsensical levels in terms of their overall layout and pacing. This is a game that the game will be all too happy to say, go to one specific point on the map to complete a quest, but the actual way to get to that section is in the complete opposite direction of the game. On the second planet, the solution to move forward was to not only find a secret door at the complete top part of the level, but to then take a crashing elevator down all the way back to the bottom floor to then repeat the whole area of the game with a different upgrade. And the game's pacing just does not seem to make all that much sense. Some areas feel like they're a lot easier to discover, other ones make no sense. We also ran into several cases where the solution to a room, which what you're supposed to be doing, there is no hints or any explanation that these mechanics would exist in the game. And that is not how you want to design a Metroidvania game, let alone any kind of action-adventure based title. While there aren't any puzzles in the traditional sense, the game does challenge you to figure out certain areas and dealing with certain enemies. And the boss fights can be very painful. They do a lot of damage, and it feels like melee is the worst option. This is also coupled by the fact that many enemies can attack you before you can even get a chance to hit them. Some weapons have very short range, and the whole use of energy as a modifier mechanic just comes off as feeling cumbersome, because there's an additional button press while you're trying to do everything else. And I just did not feel the desire to go back and replay areas looking for more upgrades, because it never felt like the upgrades were doing all that much outside of your standard get more health, get more shield or energy, etc. And like I said, too much of this game just does not really feel focused. And if you want the counter example, you can look at a game like Hollow Knight, that despite also being very maze-like and very wide in terms of exploration, still gave you a general sense of discovery and exploration. This one, it just kind of felt like the game could have ended at any point. And I don't know if all the worlds I had planned were put into this one or not, but it just kind of felt like we were exploring, and then it's the final world, and then the final world is like 75% shorter than the rest of the game. And again, I did not follow the game's development, so I don't know what else they had in plan, or if they did have to cut things or not. But it just doesn't feel that good in terms of its pacing. The difficulty also deserves to be mentioned. As we've said, this game can get very hard, and the enemies become very annoying to fight. when you have those who can move around very fast, can attack and track, and they will do a lot of damage to you. And if you die, you go back to the previous save point. And as with a lot of these kinds of games, leaving a room and coming back means that all the enemies respawn. That adds additional frustration if you get lost in this game, which I'm pretty sure for anyone playing the game casually for the first time, they're going to get lost quite a bit. And the general combat just does not do enough to keep you interested in fighting these enemies again and again. Well, like we said, you can buy upgrades at the workshop, but I ran out of upgrades long before I ran out of enemies to fight. And even then, the game seems to devolve into just shoot all the enemies, not really worry about melee. And I actually used the game's second gun pretty much exclusively all the way until the very end, because it seemed like it was the best weapon for the game. And ultimately, this is what I kind of feel about with Mindseize, is that it's a lot of good ideas, but there's not enough polish or iteration to make them into a fully successful Metroidvania. If you enjoyed games like Hollow Knight, Axiom Verge, and the other very many examples in the independent space, Mindseize does not get to those heights. If you are really looking for a new Metroidvania, don't mind some of the clunkiness as we've described, then this game is pretty serviceable from beginning to end. But I am curious, for those of you who have played the game, did you also find it very frustrating at times to play, especially at the boss fights? And I also want to give a special mention to the game's final boss for being very poorly designed, and probably my second least favorite boss fight in recent memory, with number one being the final boss of Remnant from the Ashes. And to explain why would be a massive spoiler. But if anyone is indeed stuck at the final boss and want me to kind of spell it out, let me know in the comments below and I'll be more than happy to get rid of that mystery. But with that said, we're going to wrap up this review here. I do want to thank the developers for giving me a press key, and despite my misgivings, I did play through it all the way to the end. And I do hope they have learned from it and are working on something else now. If you'd like me to tackle your game in the future, please don't hesitate to get in touch and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Once again, this has been Mindseize, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel link down below, where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.